Maybe we go on where we left off on Sunday. We were talking about intelligence and security. And we came to the point that the past, the present, and the future contain in the now. That is, all time is now. And in the now, there is no time at all. I don't know if we have understood that, if we've gone into it fairly sufficiently. And as we have got only today and Thursday, we have a lot of ground to cover. So we will not go back and repeat what we have already talked about. We ought to consider what is the future of mankind. Through various successions of events, vast experience, and collective memories, through evolution, that is the whole process of time from the past, infinite past, to the present, is called evolution. Successive events, memories, experiences, and so on. And we have arrived at this present stage of human evolution. And what is our future? What's not only the future of each one, which I question whether each one is separate from the mankind, but what is what lies ahead of us? Do we proceed along the same path as we have been going for the last million years or more or less, slowly developing, slowly accumulating vast memories, not only in the technological world, but also in the psychological area, in the inward area, if you can so put it that way. And considering what evolution has brought us to now, and what is the successive events, experiences that lie ahead of us. We have evolved, and we are almost primitive psychologically. Angry, violent, innumerable illusions, dogmas, beliefs, faiths of various religions and various groups and societies and cultures. All that is inherited by us. We are all that. And there is no question about that. Nobody can argue or theoretically oppose all that. We are the result of vast successive experiences, incidents, and so on. That is our consciousness. That's what we are. And from the beginning of time, we have not changed very much. Biologically, we have reached a certain point, and I don't think we will develop third arm or two heads or something of that kind. And when we look at ourselves and our society, the society which we have created, the divisions which we have brought about, religious, national, tribal, and all the rest of it, one wonders what is the future of all human beings. This is a very serious question. We ought to consider, investigate together. Not that the speaker is exploring or pointing out, but we, you and the speaker together are walking along the same road at the same speed, with the same intention, with the same commitment to find out what is the future of man. Not only the future of our grandchildren and their grandchildren and so on, but the whole of humankind. Not one's own particular future. And our consciousness, which is what we are, our reactions, our responses psychologically and physically, all the beliefs of various cultures, of various people, all the faiths, the dogmas, the environmental conditioning, our fears, our anxieties, loneliness, depression, sorrow, and the constant pain of conflict. This is the common ground on which all human beings stand. That's a fact. When you suffer, when you are lonely, depressed, anxious, in conflict with your own friend, with your wife or husband, this is the lot of all human beings throughout the world, whether they live in Russia, China, India, Asia, and so on, America or in Europe. Every human being goes through this. May express it differently, may put into words that are not familiar to you. But the feeling, the pain, the anxiety, the sorrow, the uncertainty, the insecurity, faith in something that has no reality but an illusion, vast network of superstition. This is the common lot of all human beings. That's our consciousness. Your consciousness is not something private, personal, exclusively one's own. It is shared by all human beings. Whether you go to the most primitive part of Africa, or the most sophisticated people in New York, or Tokyo, or even in Moscow. They all share this. So it is not our personal consciousness. It's not your private individual belief in something or other. This belief is shared by everybody. They may believe in something and you may believe in something else. But belief is common to all of us. Pain, tears, laughter, humor, the sense of desperate loneliness, anxiety is shared by every human being on this beautiful earth. So it's not yours. And this consciousness is the self, the me, the person, the ego. And this ego is the common ego of mankind. This is very difficult for most people to accept and see the truth of it, because all of us are conditioned to believe that we are separate human beings, separate souls, which religions have encouraged. Separate, when we think as though we were separate from all other people who think. Thinking is common to all of us, whether the highly educated, sophisticated thinker, philosopher, or the person, the most primitive person in a small, little, withered hamlet or a village or a hut, he also thinks. Thinking is common to all of us. Therefore, it's not your individual, private thinking. It's very difficult for people who have been brought up from childhood to think that they are separate. That's a marvelous illusion, cultivated sedulously through literature, through talent, through religions, through national worship and all the rest of it. And this common consciousness, the common self, not yourself, the self which everybody clings to. That's the common self, collective self. And what is the future of mankind? That mankind has evolved collectively through millennia upon millennia. Please, we are thinking together, unemotionally, non-romantically, but without any bias or prejudice, if that is possible. We have to investigate this question. We were talking yesterday with a person who has excellent credentials about computers. He's building one of them, meeting all the top in computer people. And their extraordinary activity. In our discussion yesterday, the big organizations in America and Japan especially are pouring billions of dollars or yen not only to cure cancer, but also to create a computer, the 5th generation, the ultra-intelligent mechanical brain, that will, with the robot, this is modern civilization noise, including that of the speaker. They are creating or working to bring about the top people, not the local inventors, they add too, to bring about a computer with a robot that will outstrip man. You understand all this? That the machine can think faster, create more. Almost everything that human brain has done and can do. This is a fact. They are working at it 24 hours a day, competing with each other, America and Japan. They are producing machines which will control us, human beings, which is actually going on now. Machines, computers, and other mechanical devices that will control our human activity, will be shaped by the machines. You understand? We are being shaped now, but that is very slow, casual. But the big industries are producing machines that will control us. In the factories, the robot and the computer will build the car, and so on, so on, so on. They do operations. That's one side of it. The other side is also, they are trying to genetic engineering to change the genes of the human beings. And also, certain country is more interested in Russia in the understanding the activity of the brain, that is thought transference. You understand? To read other people's thoughts, to find out what Mr. Reagan is thinking, and Mr. Reagan is trying to find out what Andropov is thinking. And presently, if they succeed, probably they will, because they are putting all their best science and thousands and millions of dollars in all this, governments as well as big companies, to find out what makes the brain function in a certain way and whether it's possible to change that, and to read other people's thoughts. They are working on all this. Perhaps some of you already know that Duke University in America, at one time, extrasensory perception, reading people's thought, thought controlling matter, they just touch the peripheral ESP, extrasensory perception. But now they are spending, all the scientists and the top people are working at this. Please, these are facts, I'm not exaggerating. So what is the future of mankind? What is going to happen to our brain when the computer and robot take over, and when the great industries invent all these machineries of ultra intelligent machines? And what's your future as a human being? You understand my question? This is happening. It is not something in the future. It may take 10 years. And they say we'll do it in 10 years. Right? And they're going to do it in 10 years for commercial reasons. So they are acting from the outside on the human brain. You understand? Through biochemistry, through electric currents and so on, from the outside. And they may change our conditioning from the outside. And probably they will. They'll invent better gurus than any other guru in the world. Don't laugh, please. This is very, very serious. It sounds funny, humorous, but it is a fact. The computer will invent the best God on earth. Will bring about a society that will function mechanically. You understand? Face all this. And what is the future of man? If we, as human beings, don't change from the inner, from the inside, you understand? They are going to change you from the outside. This is inevitable. It's in the cards. We laymen know nothing about all this, what they are doing. Perhaps we don't want to know. And what's going to happen to our brain, human brain, not the mechanical brain invented by top computer experts and the biochemists and the genetic engineers acting from the outside to control the brain. You understand all this? And we are not painting a dark picture, it's a fact. It's happening. And what's going to happen to the human brain when we have vast leisure? Because the computer, the robot will do all the dirty work. We'll build cars, we'll sweep the roads, perhaps establish a better relationship between you and your wife. Please, this is serious what we are saying. It may give you all the sexual experience through computers. Yes, sir, sort of that also. So, what is the future of man? Your theories, your particular guru, your doctrines, your churches will have no place at all. Because the computer brain is much more active, much clearer. Millionth of a second in the answer. A question. Taking all this in, not being frightened, not being depressed by it, but seeing the actual fact of what is going on. And this friend of ours, who is building a computer, meeting all the top people, in discussing, we saw what is the future of man. Our brain is now conditioned by experience, successive incidents which bring about experiences, the fears, the pleasures, the aches and the anxieties and the pain of sorrow. The death. We are conditioned linguistically, climatically. That's our condition. And if we admit that during the successive years or periods of evolution will gradually inwardly change, which means continue what we are almost indefinitely, which is evolution, or sudden jump, which is psychologically impossible. So what we are asking is, as two friends were talking together, as two friends we talked yesterday with this person, we have known him for years, and also some of you, we have known each other for years, and we're talking over together, amicably, in friendly spirit. These are facts, irrefutable facts. And can we, even a few, change, bring about a mutation in the very brain cells of of the brain. Does it take time? You understand my point? Does it take a series of incidents, successive memories, to bring about a mutation in the conditioning? You following all this? Realizing that in investigating the conditioning, we are not investigating personal conditioning. Is the conditioning of the human brain. And that brain has evolved through time. It's not your brain. So we are not talking about your individual transformation or individual mutation, that you become more enlightened, more happy, more some kind of nonsense. We are talking about the human brain, because you, as a human being, represent all humanity. You are all humanity. Because you suffer, they suffer. You understand? Your humanity, not just one person, isolated, individuals, secretive, concerned with your own beastly little self. Right? Now we're going to find out, if we don't radically bring about psychological revolution in the sense, bring about a mutation, our brains will wither, because the computer and the robot and other things that are inventing will make our brains inactive. You understand? I wonder if you understand all this. Now you have to think. You have to investigate, you have to work. That means your brain has to be active. But when the computer and the robot takes the things over, what's going to happen to your brain? Either it's going to wither, or go off into some kind of vast entertainment, which is also taking place, right? I don't know if you have not noticed what great importance they are giving to sports. The Olympics and all that business. So you'll be caught in that. You follow, this is happening, sir. Or then you have to investigate whether you can, as a human being who is the rest of humanity, if there is a radical mutation, you affect the whole of consciousness of mankind. I do not know if you have not noticed, if in America or in Russia or in some remote part of Japan, they invent something, the rest of the world picks it up much, it's there. You understand? That it is happening. So, if when one or two or dozen or 100 bring about a fundamental freedom of condition, they affect the whole consciousness of humanity. Right? This is so. As Hitler has affected the whole consciousness of mankind, Napoleon, your religious leader, or the other religious leaders, they have affected humanity. So can we, after stating all this, can we bring about, not through gradual process of evolution, that's out, finished. Can we bring about a mutation in our whole being, in our whole behavior, in our way of looking at life? So we have to investigate together the content of our consciousness. You understand? Of which you are. Because the content makes up consciousness. Without the content, consciousness as we know it doesn't exist. Right? Are we clear on this matter? If I am a Hindu, with all that business, with all these superstitions, with their gods, with their rituals, with their, with their circus, as you as Christian with your circus, and our faith, our beliefs, our habits, all that, can all that be radically bring about change, total change? Right? Have you understood? Can we go on from there? Please, this is very serious, it's not something to play at. See the danger on one side, what they are outwardly going to do to our brains, and also see what actually our brains are conditioned, nationally, linguistically, fear, pleasure, sorrow, and all that. Faith, I believe, I don't believe, my prejudice is better than your prejudice, and so on. That's what we are. Now, one of the content of our consciousness is fear. Which is shared by all human beings. It's not your fear only, it's fear. What is fear? How does it arise? Please, you are sharing this thinking together. I am not exploring, and you just listen and play with words. You are afraid. That's a fact. Afraid to die, afraid to lose, afraid not to become something, afraid of your wife or your husband or your somebody or other, afraid of nature. You follow? Fear. Can that fear, which has conditioned our mind, our brain, can that fear completely end? Not through time. That means evolution, gradual. You follow? I wonder if you are following all this. Please, it's your life. It's not my life. It's not somebody else's life. It's the life of every human being. Fear does terrible things. Fear makes you lie, fear makes you kill, fear makes you violent. Fear makes one curl in one side, in oneself. All of us know what fear is. Is fear one of the causes? One of the causes of fear, is it to become something? You understand? Psychologically, to become something. That is, I am this, I must be that. The that is the projection through comparison. Right? I compare myself with you, right? And I want to be like you. Or I don't want to be like you, but like somebody else. To become. You understand? The comparison is to become. Andiamo? Avanti. So can we now, not tomorrow, end all comparison? Of course, you have to compare between two cars. If you have the money, you buy the better. When you are comparing one house of one architect, and so on, there it's necessary to compare. To get the best of cloth, best of houses if you have the money, and so on. But we are talking about psychological comparison. So, to see the consequences of comparison, which is to become, right? And one of the causes of fear is this, right? And seeing the truth of it, and instantly all comparison. Are you doing it? Even few of you, for God's sake. So that your mind, your brain is free of this burden, which means you are unconditioning the brain cells themselves. Those cells have been accustomed, trained, educated to compare. And one day you will sit next to God. You know all that stuff. Or you compare what you are with what you should be. So that all sense of ideals, the future, completely ends. And so one of the causes of fear ends instantly. There are other multiple causes of fear. Fear of public opinion, fear of what your friends might say about you. 1,000 fears. Fear of the dark, fear of your wife, of your husband, fear of this and fear of that. Fear of your guru, because you want to be like him. Right? He tells you how to meditate, all that stupid stuff. So you're always trying to become something. And what is it that is becoming? An idea, a memory, a thought, you understand? You follow? Is that what is becoming? And therefore, it is an empty becoming. There is nothing in it. But yet we cling to that. So what are the other causes of fear? Please, we are investigating together. Is it time? Fear of the future? Or fear of the past? Fear of having done, the past? Both biological fears and psychological fears based on the past, which is time. Fear of future as death. So, time and thought are the root of fear. Right? Of course, it's so obvious. How can you go on from there? Do you and I see the fact, comparison, which is also part of time, the becoming, and the thought that says, I must become, I must be. Those thought, time, are the basic factors of fear. If you say, how am I to stop thinking? That's a wrong question. But if you see the fact, you understand, if you see a dangerous snake in front of you, act. You don't say, what am I to do with it? Please tell me how to run from it. You don't ask somebody to say, what am I to do? When there is danger, there is instant response. And time and thought in relation to fear is a fact, is a tremendous danger. Right? And do you actually see the danger or the idea of danger? You understand? The idea is stronger than the fact. And so we play with it. The idea of a snake is different from the actual snake. Right? The actual precipice. You can imagine that you're standing on a precipice and try to fall and play all around. But when you're in front of a deep chasm at your feet, you respond instantly. So if one is aware of the nature of fear and the danger of fear, how it corrupts the mind, brain. Mind is different. I use that word mind. I'll keep that word mind away from the brain. So does one see danger? And therefore act. And also, one has to consider the whole pursuit of pleasure, sexual, the becoming, the achievement, being tied to something, attached to something, possessing something, various forms of pleasure. When you are attached, when you are tied to something, then corruption begins. Right? I want to see all this. when I am tied to my wife or to my husband or to an ideal or a series of logical deductive conclusion, and I hold on to that, then corruption is inevitable. When I hold on attached to my wife, are you all following all this? Or to my girlfriend, because I'm comfort, sex, all the rest of it. In that attachment, in that tie, there is the beginning, the seed of corruption. When you see the truth that wherever there is any kind of attachment to anything, to your furniture, to a person, to an ideal, to a system, whether democratic, social, or any attachment tied to anything, you have already the seed flowering into corruption. Yes, sir. And pleasure is that corruption, if you are pursuing it. Pleasure happens, all right. But if you pursue it, as most human beings do, and attached to pleasure, then you have all the corruptive process taking place which brings about deterioration of the brain. Corruption is the deterioration. And also we ought to talk over together a much more complex problem, that of suffering. Mankind, wherever they live, have suffered enormously. Go to the poor countries where they have 1 meal a day and not enough to eat. They suffer infinitely. And all the wars of many centuries, how many people have been killed, how many tears. So aren't you aware of all these blotted things? The sorrow of not achieving, the sorrow of ignorance, not of books, not of accumulated professorial knowledge. That is part of ignorance. We are talking of ignorance of the truth of reality, of what is going on inwardly. The sorrow of losing somebody whom you think you love. The sorrow of disease, the sorrow of 1,000 things. And mankind throughout the world has borne this sorrow. And we're still going on with it. So what is wrong with us? We know the wars that are going on now. Maimed, you follow, sir? Those terrible tanks, the aeroplanes from 30,000 feet dropping a bomb, not seeing the devastation it makes, and saying that they're not fit. God was with me there and dropped the atomic bomb in Nagasaki or Hiroshima. You people. So is it possible to end sorrow? Which is to face loneliness. And end it, not take time the causes of sorrow, seeking comfort. There is always a comforter. The priest, the psychoanalyst, the friend, the guru, someone will cry with you, hold your hand. That doesn't end sorrow. It's like having a deep wound. You may cover it up, you may escape from it, but it's always there, deep down in the dark recesses of one's own brain. And to end it. Because where there is suffering, there is no love. And without love and compassion, there is no intelligence. And if we pursue our life, our daily life as we are living now, year after year till we die, as vast millions and billions of people are doing, they are not contributing anything to the whole collective consciousness of man. But if you and few of us basically, fundamentally bring about mutation in the conditioning of the brain, which means in the very brain cells themselves. And that is possible only when we are aware of our conditioning, meet it with head-on fear, all the faiths and the dogmas, the stupid rituals. Fears, pleasures, sorrow, of which we are. If there is no mutation, we will be contributing to the ugliness of mankind. So there is only one choice for us, only one direction for us. Either we enter into the world of entertainment, you understand, the footballs, the literature, the painting, the talk about pictures and the cinemas and the, you understand, the whole world of entertainment, that vast industry which is gradually taking us over. And that industry includes all the rituals of the religious people, this form of entertainment. They don't change by going day after to Mass, to the Indian rituals. There is a temple in India near the school where we live. It's one of the most famous temples in India. They take vows to that image inside, and they pour thousands of dollars a day. It's become a tremendous business of man, like all religions. You understand all this? The churches of the world. when one actually sees all this spread out in front of you like a clear map, the computer, the robot, biochemistry, genetic engineering, and the search into the activities of the brain to read other people's thoughts. On one side. The other side, vast entertainment. Unless one is extraordinarily aware, you're going to be caught in all this. You probably are already caught. And when there is a change, radical mutation in the conditioning, which means freedom from all conditioning, and that freedom is love, it's not self-interest. That freedom is compassion, not in which there is sympathy, there is all that, but compassion is not attached to any religion. It isn't because I love Jesus or Krishna or somebody that I'm compassionate. I go and help the poor country. Compassion is born only out of total freedom. I finished. May I get up, please?